Hello, everyone, and welcome to LOJ Wellness Wednesday. I appreciate all of you supporters, be it a listener or a viewer, for those of you who catch this on video or on audio. And for all of you speakers, we have had 17, now going on 18 amazing weeks. This is our 18th week of incredible women featuring their businesses, their passions, their organizations, and even their families. So we appreciate you for chiming in. I'm going to get straight into it before I get into our guest speaker, who is chiming in all the way from Jacksonville, Florida today. If this is your first time listening, please let the person know who invited you that you listened to learn a little bit more about what Ladies of Justice is, more so on who we are. If you want to learn more details about, our partnership and really using the platform of Legal Shield and how we empower and protect families and businesses, please again reach out to that person and they can get you more additional information. We have Zoom calls that feature our products and services exactly on this Zoom call, hawaiilszoom.com, or you can again get a direct link of just information. But today's call, Wellness Wednesday, is really more about the blueprints of your life. So let me share our mission statement and core values before I turn it over to our incredible guest speaker. Our Ladies of Justice mission statement is to help improve lives with our services and to provide women the opportunity and environment to build their belief and confidence, step into their greatness and power, control their lives, create choices, and to live a purposeful life. And then our core values are to discover your worth, take ownership, build an inclusive and diverse community, elevate women as we climb, create wealth and legacy when we do it, and to own our seat at the table while still integrating our family. And that's what Ladies of Justice does through our platform here in partnership with Legal Shield. Whether or not you work alongside us, you are part of the Ohana, you're part of the family, you're part of our Ladies of Justice network, because who wouldn't lock arms with a mission statement and core values really driven to empower and uplift other women. And if you're not a woman, we still support and appreciate you chiming in, listening in, cheering on the women that have been sharing their hearts as well the last 17 weeks, and more to come every week, again 11 a.m. on hawaiilszoom.com, or you can catch the replays on a YouTube channel. Just look up Emson and Jeni Sayud, or you can follow me on Instagram, which we have kind of teasers that are on there at just_Jenny Lee. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Mykell. Mykell, take it away.
Everybody, it's such a pleasure. It's really a blessing to be able to sit and talk with women who are unique and phenomenal in your own rights. Even if you're sitting there looking like a human napkin, bouncing a baby, you are completely phenomenal in your own rights. And I love the opportunity to come and to remind women of their purpose and their passion amongst having their perspective in the process. Because sometimes we let process override and we forget that we have purpose. And so right where you are, this is an opportunity for us to speak back into you and encourage you, to let you know you're not by yourself in this walk that you're doing in your life. Well, I really wanted to talk with you ladies about the tool of designing the fundamental blueprint of who you are first. Because before you can reach the goals that you have, and before you can accomplish the things that you desire, you have to be able to stop and ask yourself who you are not. And then therefore you know how to build and capitalize on who you are. And I felt it important to really get back into speaking into the interpersonal skill sets of a woman, whether you're a wife or you're single or you're divorced or you're widowed or you're a mom or you're a student or you're unemployed trying to figure out what you're doing, or you're that battered spouse that's trying to refigure out your life and pick up the pieces and refine your identity. It's important to build a blueprint of who you're not. And I choose the words who you're not instead of who you are, because as we begin to heal in our process and understand the goals that we have and the visions and desires that we have, it becomes easy to start pinpointing, okay, you know what, I can do this, I can do that. But it starts with telling yourself who you're not first. And I think it's important that if we think about what a blueprint is, all major businesses, mission statements, vision statements, they're all blueprints. And they're blueprints of the fundamental fingerprint of who that business is and how they identify themselves. But for those of us who have had jaded past events that have changed the trajectory of where we want to go and what we want to do, our blueprint often changes and there's smudges on it. Instead of it being clear and crisp and that vision of what we once thought, there begins to get the coffee spills of life incidents and jams from the sandwiches of situations, and they all plummet onto the pages. And before long, it's a bunch of smears and it doesn't look clear and defined. So today, I really wanted to talk to us about who are you not? Because it is important that you don't allow the blueprints of things of old to come into your life and build construction in your new vision. You're not the sum total of the things you've done wrong. You're not the sum total of the things that you have missed. You're not just his wife or her mom or his mom or their daughter or the student or the unemployed woman or the battered wife or the ex-wife or the widower or the boss or just the employee. You are a woman in the midst of a process. And in that process, you will always be faced with purpose and you will be faced with passion. And the purpose and passion both bring perspectives. Who are you not when you sit down with self and you begin to make a blueprint of what you want in your life? Because you get to decide who you're not when you are strategizing for you and the next trajectory in your life. Who are you not? You're not the labels of the things that have gone wrong. You're not the past incidents that didn't work out. You're not the last accomplishment you made. You're not even the sum total of accolades that you can have on your wall. You are at that moment potential arising, and you get to decide what that looks like. So we talk a lot about business and becoming a woman of substance, not just monetarily, but becoming a woman of substance and taking that blueprint and seeing who you're not and looking at who you want to reach. Who do you want to reach first? A lot of times, okay, I want to reach the women out here and I want to reach small businesses. I want to take my products. But what about reaching self? How much time do you take to reach you, to invest back into you, to remind yourself of your purpose and your plan? Because purpose and promise have to mesh in order to meet promise. And that's painful sometimes. Who are you in the midst of that? How much time do you take to remind yourself that you're beautiful, that you're loved, that you're accepted, that you're capable, that you're more than just a human napkin for your toddler to climb up on, or you're more than just a wife for the husband, or you're more than just a 9 to 5 that you clock into? That you have something to offer that's so significantly different than anyone else, that you're your own walking blueprint for the next person to see and be amazed. There have been a lot of women I was watching, and they were sharing their stories of starting from rock bottom and climbing up to the top, which has been amazing because I can resonate with that. I am a mother. I am a grandmother now of 4. My daughter just had twins about a week ago. I am also an ex-wife after about 20 years. So if you're a formerly married person, I have you. If you're a person who's been married for a long period of time, I have you too. I've come out of a military marriage background, so I have y'all too. Blended family, have you too. I'm also a woman who has been restored from every avenue of abuse you can think of. So if you've ever been traumatized with any kind of abuse, be it physical, mental, verbal, sexual, I have you too. Um, but you wouldn't know that if I hadn't said it, because we don't have to look like the fire that we came out of, and we don't have to smell like the smoke that we rose out of. We just have to be able to detect it so we can help others put those flames out. And coming to Jacksonville was different because I is home, but I left a 20-year marriage that was very abusive, and I made a decision to take my three younger children at that time and leave and come out here. And I didn't bring anything. I brought a sleeping bag and three kids, one of which had an immunodeficiency. So he was like a bubble boy. So for those of you who are trying to start over from scratch and figure out what to do with your life, and you're like, well, I can't because of my age, or I can't because of my financial situation, or I can't because I have a child that's impaired in one way, shape, or form, or you yourself are, I can relate to you too. I came out to a state I knew no one in, with nothing but my backpack and three kids. I didn't take anything from the military. I didn't even have them move me. Didn't take the support, didn't take anything. I took my peace of mind and a desire to find out who I'm not, because I was learning to live life uh, with who everybody else wanted. And it was very unhealthy and very toxic. And I had to come find out who I wasn't so I could remind myself of who I was. And I thought I was coming out here to find out who I was, but I ended up coming out here to find out that I already knew who I was. I just needed to re-identify with her, and I didn't know what that looked like. And I wanted to encourage you, if you're listening to this, that no matter where you are in your life at this time, there's always a purpose that you can rediscover on the road back to you. And you're not so far gone in any avenue that you can't get back to who you are. So if you've always dreamed of being that baker, go for it. If you've always dreamed of being that businesswoman, go for it. If you've always dreamt of being that author, go for it. You've always dreamt of being the perfect wife that just wants a family, be that wife. You want to be a mom? Be that mom. You're like, I want to go back to school and I'm 50. Go back to school and rock it out, because the world needs your passion and your perspective. Because as we get older, we get passion, we get perspective, which gives us purpose and gives us promise. And I came out here and I had no clue what I wanted to do, knew no one, had no source of income. Yeah, kind of shut everything off. When I was in Hawaii, I had a couple of businesses. I had freelance writing businesses, and I was doing very well for myself. God had blessed me with clientele that were all over the place, and they were socialites, and I was coming on up, as we would say. But I wasn't coming on up emotionally and mentally. The blueprint of my life at that time was just about meeting everyone else's needs and kind of putting mine on a shelf. And you can only do that so long before it becomes toxic. You can only do that so long before um, you begin to self sabotage yourself and even miss out on the bigger pictures. And so I spent about 17 years, yeah, about 17 years pouring into couples and women and business women and all kinds of echelons that God gave me favor in, and then going home to destruction and heartache and brokenness as a leader, as a mother, as a wife, and trying to figure out how I could encourage and speak into women, and then go home and be just in turmoil left and right while I was still trying to hold on to the blueprints of what I thought was healthy and happy. And so I had to make a decision after a while that I was going to try to do something drastic for me and figure it out. And I did, which brought me to Florida. It really came about Florida because my youngest daughter threw a dart on the map. It landed on Florida. We were like, oh, there's water. It's going to be like Hawaii. Great. No, not. This is not Hawaii. Florida is Florida is its own spirit animal, and I'm just going to say that. But I came out here and I began to just I sat and I was like, well, I'm not going to be involved in anything, and I'm just going to go to a church and I'm just going to sit. And I decided, Lord, I want you to show me where to go for a church, where not to go. I don't believe in trying on things like shoes. I'm a shoe person. I don't try on shoes. I stare at them. If I touch them, there's a chance it's going home. If I try a shoe on, it goes home with me. So I don't try on shoes. So I'm kind of like that with everything in life. I don't reach for it until I know that I'm ready to take it to another level. And that means that I look at it, but I also give myself room to have passion about it. And I'm challenging some of you women. When's the last time you had passion about anything? If you paint, when's the last time you just picked up crayons and started coloring in a coloring book, or buying supplies and just making billboards at home just to get back in the routine of it at night when everybody's asleep? Or you have a business that you have on your heart, but you don't know where to start, you don't know what to do. You ask people questions all the time, and they never really give you the steps. They just kind of point you in a direction. And you're like, well, what, can someone just give me A, B, C, and D so I know what I'm doing? It's okay, but don't give those things up. They're still part of who you are, and it's never too late. So when I came out here, I was directed to a church, and I sat and I was like, okay, I'll just sit at the church. I'll just, fade into the background. The Lord was like, I don't think so. There's so much for you to offer and to talk on and speak on. I'm going to need you to do more than just fade into the background. And I didn't want to, because I felt like here I am, single mom, um, end of a 20-year marriage. I was a leader. I had a really high leadership position. I had businesses, and I left everything, and I have nothing to show for it. And how am I going to tell anybody anything? And he began to remind me of different women for me throughout the Bible. Ruth had nothing. She was absolutely busted in every area. She had nothing. And when Boaz met her, she had sweat and dirt and grime. And I was like, okay, but Lord, you put her in a field. I'm just at church. And you just walk it out. So I would encourage you, wherever you are in your life, walk that out for right now. If you have a hunger and a passion for business, but you're a stay-at-home mom right now, build up the conglomerate of what kind of mom you want to be, and then build your children up, because you're releasing them into society, and we get to come in contact with the people that you have built and released. If you are a wife, build up your home. Be that wife. Find out what kind of wife your husband needs, not who your mom was or who your father was or his aunt or his uncle, but the blueprint for what your marriage needs. If you are a current employer and you want to build up your company, your business, what kind of student are you being of the employees that you have? If a moment in their shoes, what would they see and what do you see? Can you see what they see at this time? And what means are you going to and lengths are you going to stay relatable to them as you give them your vision? Because people will follow the passion that you have if they think you're for them. And if you're going to build a strong team, you have to remind them first that you are a servant leader first. You can show them that you're just a manager or the boss. Be the boss of not just the moment, the time, the payroll, but of their happiness, of the stability and the core of the team. How much time are you spending removing yourself from being boss and just taking the day to be a moment in your shoes? You know what? Today I'm going to work the line with you guys. I'm going to see what kind of customers you're coming in contact with. I'm going to see what kind of verbiage is being fed back to you. And I'm going to help build quality assurance at least once a week about what you guys engage in so I can hear you. Because when people feel heard, they are willing to go to extra lengths because they feel valued. If you're just an employee, how much time are you putting yourself in your boss's shoes? If it was your business, if it was your money that was funding everyone else and everything mattered from the paperclip to the time you have on the phone to the moment you're on Facebook versus when you should be working, how are you stewarding that? How would you feel if every moment of that affected not just your pay, but everyone else's pay? And seeing it from that perspective and then deciding what kind of employee you want to be for that moment. And if your voice isn't being heard, how are you going about bringing that up in a way that shows the value of how it builds and profits the time margin and the goals that the company has with their mission and their vision statement versus just being disgruntled in the break room and fussing and complaining like everyone else? If you're just a student, your potential and purpose just building up. You're not just a student, you have humbled yourself to go learn something new and grow and take a new perspective and a new outlook, and you want to present it to another person with passion. No one has to understand that. That's okay. Just do it. There's so many areas that we become complacent and familiar in. Because, like I said before, the blueprint of that vision and dream that we once had that we were so careful about, there's coffee stains of life on it. There's the sandwich gems that have fallen on it from life events. There are all kinds of smudges. And after a while, it just becomes something that we think and we like, but it's not that real big of a deal because we can't see where it fits in. So when I came to Florida, and I'm in this new church and I'm stepping back, and God's like, "You're not going to step back, you're going to jump into everything." And I was like, "Okay." And begin to open up platforms for speaking into women. And I was like, "Well, I'm familiar with that, Lord." But he was like, "No, you're going to do it the way I want you to do it," which was new and not new. And what I mean by that is sometimes we do things out of routine and familiarity instead of out of humility and hunger. And it was like Moses in the burning bush, if you're familiar with it, when God first revealed who he was to him. He came in the form of a burning bush. And Moses turned and looked at the bush and was like, "What the heck? Why is the bush not burnt up?" Number one. Number two, there's a voice coming from it. And number three, why are you talking to me? I mean, I've been out here just chilling in the wilderness, running from my past and all the mistakes that I made, and I've made peace with it. So I'm just learning to just be content with life. But God was like, "I don't want you to be content. I want you to take the things that you've gone through, the things that you've learned about yourself, and I want you to present that to other people so that they can see themselves and go from there." And so while you women are learning who you are, it's not just for you. Someone needs to know that they can do it too at 55, at 45, at 65, at 23, at 18, at 32. They need to know that they still can. They need to know that it's not a lost cause because you exist. And as long as you exist, you remind others that there is no lost cause, that everyone has a plan and a purpose and you fit in. So I began to speak to women. I began to be pulled into motivational speaking and life coaching, which is what I did before I came out here. And before long, I was in platforms of women, and I was like, "Okay, I'm going to be talking to 40 women." And then I walked in and it was 635. And I was like, "Okay, what do I say, Lord? How I do this?" And he was like, "Just remind them that they have a plan and a purpose. But plan and purpose always looks like passion, perspective, and process. And sometimes we want to circumvent process." And so what he began to do was teach me the process of me. I don't want you to just be familiar with what you're not, Mykell. I want you to learn who you are. And in you learning who you are, you'll see me. And it wasn't just, well, I'm just a mom, I'm a grandma, I'm an ex-wife, I'm a this. It was, I'm a daughter, that's loved by a father who will never tell me to do something and not be there. And I'm going to give you the tools to do it. You don't always need what's behind your name to get to where God wants you. You could be in the grocery store and the woman you're talking to picking up frozen peas could be the CEO of whatever. And you have no idea what's going on, but you share a smile with her, and that smile is enough to impact her, and you become friends. And that's kind of what started happening is he started putting me around women who had different areas of influence that I had no idea. I would just hug them and pray out for them and encourage them and tell them how pretty they were that day. And soon I was coordinating things and putting on events and speaking into women and talking before thousands of women trying to figure out how in the world did I get here, and I'm the least qualified, so I shouldn't even be here because my past is so horrible that some of the women in the Bible that were notorious would probably stand up and be like I don't even want to be associated with her. But that's what he uses. He uses where you've come from and who you once were to remind the next person that they are just as valuable, just as valuable, and they are a blueprint for what he wants. Of learning who I am based on what he says, not what I feel. And he began to ask me, can I demolish all the things that you had built in your spirit, in your soul, in how you think, how you choose, and how you respond? And can I help you build up to who I want you to be? And the first thing he taught me is I want you to know that you're loved. And some of you have never even known what that felt like, and I can relate to that. Knowing genuine, sincere love and it being unconditional. Because when you know someone loves you, you have the confidence to do whatever they're asking. And for those of you who are Christian, and have this relationship with Christ, the first thing he ever asks us to do in the blueprint of our life is to love him. It's not to develop your hope and your faith. It's not to give more money. It's not to do anything. It's to love him. Because if you love him, your identity is solidified. And if you know who you are in him, then you can do what he asks of you. And you can do it with tears, and you can do it with shakes, and you can do it with doubts. But you do it knowing that he loves you in some way, shape, or form, he's going to make a way. And so I began to just step out the way he asked me to. And what that looked like was I began to be very diligent with the things that I was doing outside of my comfort zone. So one of the blueprints for your next steps, once you sit down and have a hard look at you, you fall back in love with what you are capable of, and that the seasons and the times for when you can. And then the next thing you do is embrace the steps that he brings. That may be casual. It may be having lunch with that girl up the street. And sometimes she gets on your nerves. But you know what? You start learning things about her. And then she has connections to other people. And before long, the person that he really wanted you to meet was the 12th person that you were going to come in contact with while you sat in her house. And all along, that was the goal for you to meet these women. It could be anything, but embrace the steps that he has for you. Don't despise the small steps. Just embrace them. It could be just speaking to other women and feeling like I can't tell them, I don't know what to tell them, but embrace it. The next thing is to find out, okay, how do I brand me? Branding you is not looking at what worked for someone else. Branding you is looking at the fundamentals of what you know you can do and what you're willing to bust a sweat doing. If you know you can cook like nobody else's business, don't try to sew. Cook. Cook. If you know I can make any kind of croissant, but I cannot make a pie to save my life, don't be trying to be Marie Callender. Make croissants. If you know that you are gifted administratively and you know that you are the best type A personality that could make any ship run, Ask him about how to consult getting people's lives together. There are plenty of people out there that cannot manage anything and they need someone with some skill sets. That's not a small thing. Start small. He might have you volunteering somewhere. He might have you volunteering at a not for profit. He could have you volunteering at a church. He could have you volunteering, putting extra time in at your job to just fix something. Show your skill sets. Don't sell yourself short. The next thing is once you're figuring out those things, finding out, okay, what names work for you, what your company is. Make it something small and simple that can be easily remembered. Find a trademark for it. Get your trade for it. So you go to like GoDaddy, you go to those websites, you brand your name, you get on a website, you find out about a website. They have plenty of them out there. Pick one that works, get a template that works for you, and start going from there. If you don't know how to do that, you find someone who's skilled at doing that. My businesses, I had a photographer who was top of the line. I let her do the pictures. I stuck with the content. There, you begin to just get people on your team that know what to do. Maybe you have they're not good at baking anything, but man, they can talk to anybody and talk them into anything. They can have them buy a whole roll of toilet tissue from you and it's free. Grow and don't be afraid to be diversified. Don't be afraid to try something new. But the first thing I want to keep encouraging us to try new is how you see yourself. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is not the end result. The goal is not to avoid failing. The goal is to remind yourself that you can do it and that you should try it and that it can be accomplished and that you believe in yourself. Don't focus on what doesn't work out. Focus on the fact that you believe enough in yourself that you're willing to give it a try. And then you keep at it. So I just really wanted to come on and encourage everyone in that area, just to remind you about getting back to the fundamentals of the blueprints for you before you can start anything. You have to believe in you. You have to sell you to you first, and then present that gift because you are a gift to others. Right now, currently, I run a couple of, I'm on the board of directors for a few not for profits for women who've been through abuses. Um, I'm also own a few freelance writing businesses. So I write everything from professional web content to anything from speeches and vows. So I never thought I'd be doing that. Like I just had a passion for writing and I had a passion for taking the everyday things that we think are common and making them moments for another person to enjoy and remind themselves of. And one of those things are us as women. We are magnificent, phenomenal, one of a kind, unique fingerprints that have been left on the earth to touch others. What kind of fingerprint will your blueprint leave and for who? Start with yourself. I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to talk with you and hopefully encourage you and just to remind you that you have something to offer. Nothing is ever worthless. Everything you've ever endured up until this moment right here that you're looking at is something that can benefit another. It's not wasted. So give yourself an opportunity to start from scratch and be proud of that. Put your head up and know that you are loved and beautiful, unique, phenomenal, and one of a kind in your own right, even if you're sitting there changing a diaper.